You have heard this before, at weddings, on greeting cards, embroidered on pillows in your aunt's living room. We hear the reader's voice now, faint beneath the narration. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is the most famous love passage ever written. Almost no one knows what it actually says. Because here is the thing nobody tells you about it. It is not a love poem, and it was not written for a wedding.
Letters that changed the world. Paul Decoded. Episode 2.
Around the year 53 of the Common Era, Paul was living in Ephesus when news reached him from a church he had planted in Corinth. The news was bad. They were suing each other in Roman courts. They were sleeping with members of their own families. They were getting drunk at the communion table while poorer believers went without food. They were splitting into rival factions, some loyal to Paul, some to a man named Apollos, some to Peter, some claiming the moral high ground by saying they followed only Christ. They were also, incidentally, very proud of their spiritual gifts. He wrote them a letter. It runs almost 10,000 words. 12 chapters in, he stops. He puts down everything else he was saying, and he writes the passage you have heard at every wedding you have ever attended. He was not blessing them. He was indicting them. To understand why Paul, of all people, was the one who wrote this, you have to understand what he had been before he was Paul. He had been a man on the wrong side of love. He had carried letters of arrest. He had stood and watched while a young deacon named Stephen was stoned to death, and the text says he approved of it. He had built a career on being right. He was not writing about love because he found it easy. He was writing about love because he had nearly missed it. That is the credibility behind every line of what comes next. And then, in middle age, every certainty he had collapsed. He had to learn, slowly, over 20 years in dozens of cities, through shipwrecks and floggings and imprisonments, what it meant to actually love someone you used to hate. Here is the passage in its original setting. Listen to it now not as a poem, but as a list of accusations. He is writing to a church that was famously impatient with each other. They could not even wait for the poor to arrive before they started the communion meal.
This is not the fellowship. This is your undoing.
He is writing to a church without love that ranked itself by spiritual gifts, who could speak in tongues, who could prophesy, who had the most dramatic experiences. He calls all of that next to nothing. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. He is writing to a church whose leaders mocked each other publicly and called it spiritual maturity. He is writing to people who were dragging each other to court. It is not irritable. He is writing to a community that kept score. He is writing to people who took quiet pleasure in each other's scandals.
I heard that he took it.
The Greek word used here for wrongdoing is adikia, meaning injustice or unrighteousness. They were using each other's failures as leverage to climb the church hierarchy.
Let's push this iteration to the live site.
Perfect, it's ready. I'm so glad we found this time.
Look at him go!
In reality, life is not always this picture perfect. The same failure is happening today, in a workplace, in a marriage, in a family. The company executives pass around a tablet displaying the Q4 dividend payouts, signing off on massive stock option chunks for themselves. Impatience among the married couples. insensitivity and lack of empathy. Getting irritated with a spouse due to comparison that leads to envy and jealousy.
Are we just gonna forget about what you did 3 years ago? Oh, please. He wouldn't know romance if it hit him.
This man got so angry that he slammed the door so hard, the framed wedding photo on the entryway wall rattled and tilted sideways. This is not a wedding reading. This is a man who has spent 20 years of his life trying to teach people to love each other, writing one final, unsparing description of what the thing actually requires. And then he does something nobody expected.
In Greek, Eros means the love of desire. PHILIA means the love of friendship. STORGE means the love of family. He uses a word that, in Greek, was almost never used. He had 3 other words available, but he uses none of them. Rather, Paul the Apostle used agape. Agape, a word so rare that scholars still argue about what he is doing with it.
There was a deep research that was done and using 45 sources, and it's called The Foundations of Love and Marital Success Probabilities. Now, this deep research was done with the 4 types of love in view. So, Eros, PHILIA, STORGE, and Agape. Yeah, so the frameworks that were used was that of Lee's color wheel theory and that of Thunberg's triangular theory of love. Now, as a disclaimer, these 2 researchers were not believers, were not Christians, were not religious people. So the first thing that was discovered was these 4 types of love were 4 ancient words that was used by the Greeks. So modern psychology revisits the Greek concept of Eros, PHILIA, STORGE, and Agape through the theories of John Allen, Lee, and that of Robert Thunberg. And then the foundational orientation of a marriage strongly shapes the heart of the married. Right, so let's start with the first one. The first one is Eros. Eros is passionate love, physical passion, physical attraction, sexual desire, and the search for a physical ideal, such as height. The guy must be dark, and some must have 6 packs. The lady must be fair-skinned, figure 8, not too tall, and very attractive, gorgeous, and intelligent as well. And the guy must be muscular. You know, those kind of physical attraction that sparks of passion. Now the second one is PHILIA. PHILIA is friendship-based love. Now it's a friends to lovers pathway to marriage, which involves mutual respect, trust, and shared values. And the third one is STORGE, which is compassionate and familiar love. And it entails natural attachment and familiarity, which is the bedrock of stability. And the last one, which is not the least, is Agape. And Agape is altruistic love and is unconditional love. So it's selfless in nature. It seeks the partner's good, satisfaction, happiness, and joy, and not expecting anything in return. The big picture is that of a 10-year survival rate by foundation. So marriages that are built on the foundation of passion, which is Eros, they have 77.5% survival rate for the first 10 years. The ones built on PHILIA has 86% survival rate, higher rate than that of Eros. PHILIA is based on friendship, and STORGE is based on natural attachment and familiarity, 85% from the research done within a decade. Now, for that of Eros, which is passion, built on passion, is stable among the three. And then the most resilient one among the three is PHILIA, which is based on friendship, and it's also modern, is what you see most of the time. And also, STORGE doesn't have high hazard when it starts, when the marriage starts, and also has deep stability. Now, for Eros, well, let's do a deep dive. I'll just zoom into Eros. It's passionate love, don't forget, and also is as a result of physical passion, sexual desire, sexual compatibility, and intense search for physical ideal in the opposite sex. Okay, so like I said, it has 10 years survival rate of 75 to 80%. A quarter of marriage built on Eros, passionate love only. Research found out for 10 years that it has 25% failure rate within the first 10 years, 12% failure rate within the first 3 years in marriage. And compared to PHILIA and STORGE, in the first 3 years, they have a failure rate of 2%. And Eros actually have high hazard, very high hazard, which peaks as passion habituates and fades away. So the initial attraction, that passion that attracted them to the opposite sex, once they marry and move in together within the first 2 to 5 years, it just fades out. You know, that passion just do it. Okay, 28% of Eros only couples enter a gradual decline that ends in dissolution within the first 5 to 7 years. And the primary reason, the culprit for this failure is infidelity, which has 55% of the marriages within the 10 years of research failed because of infidelity, and the remaining 45% fail because of other reasons apart from infidelity. Now, for PHILIA, which is friendship-based love, PHILIA, has mutual respect, trust, and shared value. So 85 to 87% of marriages that are built on PHILIA, friendship, they have 10 years survival rate of 85 to 87%. But they also have 13 to 15% failure rate within the first 10 years. So it's a little bit lesser than that of passion, but marriage built on passion only, but it's still high, 15% on the upside. But in the first 3 years of marriage, only 2% of marriages. The best friend effect in PHILIA, it has a 2% larger relationship benefits as they build up towards marriage. So it has 2 times larger relationship benefit when they get to settle down together and marry. And then the divorce rate is like 30% under the national average. So Eros, long-term high satisfaction probability for Eros is 37%, below average. But for PHILIA is above average, which is relationship or marriages built on friendship, good friendship, deep friendship. It has 67% long-term high satisfaction probability. So STORGE, don't forget, is compassionate and familiar love, and is the love of natural attachment and familiarity, which is the bedrock of stability. In the first 3 years in marriage, from the research carried out, less than 1% failed, and less than 10% failed in the first 10 years of marriage. And in a decade of marriage, 5% of them survived the first 10 years of marriage. But there's a caveat here, and that caveat is called the stability satisfaction paradox. Deep, secure stability can quietly coexist, but with low level of ongoing dissatisfaction. So, because neither partner fears the union will collapse, so minor conflicts are tolerated, minor issues are swept under the carpet without resolving them, and a durable bond that is not always a fulfilling one. So it's not a fulfilling one. There's no fulfillment in marriage on one side or on both sides of the partners. They are not getting fulfillment, they are not getting satisfaction in marriage, but they are just enduring marriage. And just on the face value, they are just showing the society, the close-knit society, the people all around that, yeah, on the face value, things are fine, but when you go closely, there's no satisfaction in marriage. So it's called stability satisfaction paradox. And you can see that in countries amassing nuclear empowerment, nuclear weapons, so that it will serve as a threat and deterrent to other countries. So the countries are not satisfied with themselves, but they don't want to escalate to all-out war. They use nuclear weapons as a deterrent. It's also called the stability satisfaction paradox. Now, one thing that is experienced in STORGE is when couples age and they get to 50, they're 50 above, and the social constraints holding them together starts weakening. And then possibly the big family, their parent that brought them together, the relationship, friendship, and society, community, and most of them have aged, and some of them has died and no longer around, or maybe they moved and relocated abroad elsewhere, and then there's a weakening of that social constraint. Research found out that from 1990 to 2015, the great divorce rate doubled. And the reason for this failure is because of lack of equality. Now, let's touch on agape, which is the final touch point. Agape is unconditional altruistic love. It's selfless in nature, and it prioritizes the partner's well-being, satisfaction, joy, happiness in marriage without expecting anything in return. So it's unconditional. It's selfless, but it rarely stands alone, because researchers found out that it's the least common style practiced in isolation. But actually, it should be the most common style practice, because unfortunately it's been the least common style practiced in isolation. More an ideal than a primary driver. It should be the primary driver in every relationship, in every society, in every family, in every marriage, but it is powerful in combination. So when you combine it, as you make it the foundation, for example, Agape STORGE mix is strongly associated with high marital stability in long-term follow-up. And then when you combine Eros with Agape, it's the strongest predictors of what they call dyadic satisfaction. And only Agape is truly unconditional. Okay, so what is dyadic satisfaction? Dyadic satisfaction is the degree to which emotional intimacy and companionship needs are met, and how secure and committed the partner feels about the relationship future. So, how happy and fulfilled a person is within a romantic or marital relationship. So that's what they call dyadic satisfaction. To draw this to a close, I want to just link it back. This research is good, so I want to link it back to what Paul wrote. Apostle Paul wrote by the inspiration of God in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and I just want to touch light on the principles that he actually highlighted when it comes to agape love, which is the unconditional love. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, scripture says, if I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong and all a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains but didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrifice my body, I could boast about it, but if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. Nada. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wrong. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Prophecy and speaking in unknown languages and special knowledge and skill will become useless. But love will last forever. So you can see the love that was used in this scripture, 1 Corinthians chapter 13 by Paul, is what we call agape love.
It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Agape is the word for the love that chooses. It means unconditional love. The love that does not depend on the other person earning it. The love that survives the day you do not feel it. He is not describing how love feels. He is describing what love does when feeling is no longer enough, when the odds are not in your favor to still show love, whether the condition is favorable or not.
Hang tight, I am almost there.
I want to make this work.
Let's stay together.
You're not alone, I'm right here with you. Just focus on taking slow, deep breaths.
20th century philosopher Erich Fromm wrote a book in 1956 called The Art of Loving. His central claim was that the modern world had confused love, a verb, a discipline, a practice, with falling in love, which is mostly a feeling that arrives without our permission and leaves without warning. Fromm was not a Christian. He was a Jewish psychoanalyst. But he was reading Paul. Therapists today call it the difference between infatuation and attachment. Marriage researchers, the Gottmans, with decades of empirical work, describe the repair attempts and bids for connection. The couples who last are not the couple most when the feeling is low.
Paul named it first. He named it almost 2,000 years before anyone had the empirical tools to confirm he was right. Love is patient, love is kind, love does not insist on its own way. That is not a wedding reading. That is a description of the work. They will read this passage at your wedding, and there is nothing wrong with that. But it was not written for the day you fall in love. It was written for a Tuesday, 10 years into marriage, when feeling is not enough and you have to decide again. Love, the man said, is not what you feel. Love is what you do when feeling is no longer enough. The next letter waits for you.